Hello and welcome to Sticky from the Inside, the podcast that explores how to build stickier, competition-smashing, consistently successful organisations from the inside out. I'm your host, Andy Goram, and I'm on a mission to help you turn the lights on behind the eyes of your people, light the fires within them, and help more of us lead successful, fulfilling work lives. This podcast is for anyone who believes that's worth going after and who's curious about what really drives people, culture and performance. Each episode, we dive into the ideas and conversations that help create what I call stickier businesses, places where people thrive and love to work and where customers stay, recommend you and love what you do and why you do it. So, if you want to take the tricky out of being sticky, listen on. Okay then. Now, regular listeners might remember that way back in one of the very first episodes, I spoke with Megan Walker about something she called a culture of one. The idea that any individual, regardless of role or status, can influence the culture around them. It was a powerful idea. So if one person can influence culture, what happens when two people intentionally shape it together? What happens when a team does? And if culture is really built through everyday interactions, are we spending too much time trying to fix culture at an organisational level and not enough time paying attention to where people actually experience it? And my guest today believes, well, maybe we are. Bruce Mayhew is a leadership speaker, trainer, and author of The Path of an Inspired Leader, who argues that culture is built locally through the relationships, habits, and interactions that happen between people every day. And he calls these microcultures. Because whether we realize it or not, every team creates its own culture. And your organization will have a culture, maybe multiple cultures regardless. And the question is whether we're designing these intentionally or simply allowing them to emerge by default. So in this conversation, we're going to explore why trust matters more than chemistry, why leaders should focus less on controlling culture and more on creating the conditions for it to thrive, and what practical steps all of us can take to build and scale healthier, higher performing environments. Bruce, welcome to the show, my friend.
Oh, my pleasure to be here. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah.
I would love for you just to share a little bit about who you are and what you get up to and where your focus is right now. So tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. As you mentioned, I'm a corporate trainer and keynote speaker, and recently an author. I love helping organizations really be their best. I love helping teams create thriving environments where everybody is happy, that they can work through challenges in a really respectful, positive way. I like turning on light bulbs is how I like to put it. I love when teams start sparking with each other, and sparking in a good way, I mean, and really learning how to trust each other and collaborate with each other along shared goals. So that's what I do now. Early in my career, I used to be with Scotiabank, which is one of Canada's top 5 banks. And the last, 6-7 years, I was in the corporate marketing team.
Okay. I put it in the intro. I'm interested to sort of understand from your perspective what you mean by microcultures. And maybe as part of that, let's get into this belief that culture is perhaps often experienced much more locally than leaders of organizations realize. So when you use the words microculture, what are you meaning and what are you seeing in the work that you do?
Sure. It's a great question. There's no one definitive answer to what is a microculture, because right now you and I are creating a microculture between the two of us. We're establishing a relationship, a rapport. We're getting a feel for each other. We're getting an idea of whether we think that we could work together. If there's something else that we could do. Do I trust you implicitly? Because there's something that's just naturally sparking that is connecting, or do I feel like you're standoffish, or do you feel I'm standoffish, or not authentic?
Yeah.
right? Authenticity is huge, huge, huge. So right now, you and I are creating one. So I believe that so if we were to look into a team, a workplace, and say that we have a team of 5 people.
Mhm.
I believe that there's a microculture between each 2 people. There's somebody that you're naturally going to be drawn to. Their skill set complement your skill set. Your communication style complements their communication style, and it's a natural compression. And we usually embrace those really well. But I also encourage people to look at the other microcultures, the other 2 people perhaps that you're working with, that maybe there's not the same type of natural attraction about work styles and communication styles. But you still have are creating a microculture with them.
Mm.
You're still determining whether you can trust them. You're still identifying how you can work with them, right? How you can take advantage of their skill set, how they can take advantage of yours. So in a team of 5, there are all kinds of individual microcultures or team microcultures going on. But then there is a global microculture around that team as well. So it's how does that team hum, right? And
Mm.
I like to sort of use that hum component is like, what's the energy in that team, right? So is the team positive? Is the team focused on the shared values? So are there 3 or 4 values, uh, goals, criteria, brand image, whatever word you want to use? Are there 3 or 4 things that all of you are committed to upholding, right? Regardless of how old you are, or what your background is, or how much experience you have with your organization, are there a few things that are non-negotiables? That this is what we stand for. And once we understand what those things are and we all agree to them, then that creates a microculture. That's our brand image,
Yeah.
right? That's our brand, right? That's the thing that the other team will implicitly know about us because they'll get that experience over and over and over again. So that's the thing that we can be known for. And that's where I like to look at individuals and leaders and say, you do have an opportunity to create a team microculture that is completely reflective of how you want your team to work, right? Or how your team collectively want to work, right? So even though there might be chaos all around you, you can still create a little bubble. This is what we're going to be known for, right? This is the fun we're going to have. This is the collaboration that we're going to guarantee on, right? This is the level of expertise that we're going to put forward, right? So leaders have that opportunity to do that. And I think that is so powerful.
I totally agree with you. I love the bubble thing. I end up calling that sort your own pond out often when I'm working with groups. Is like you
Mm,
create an attractive enough pond in the sea of
mm,
chaos everywhere else. People are going to walk past your pond and go, "Hey, why can't we have a pond like that?" And then things kind of like start to spiral from there. And I'm sure we will talk about scaling up organizational cultures at some point. But yeah, that notion of, hey, who are we? What are we known for? What do people experience from us as a team, and how do I individually contribute to that? I think that's a lovely thing to sort of get started into. I
yeah.
also love the
Yeah.
fact that you were talking about the connection element. Like there are people we're naturally drawn to, and that's our first little microculture. But I love
Mhm.
the fact that you said, "Hey, look at the others. Look at the others, right? Perhaps the ones that I'm not naturally drawn to, or there's maybe something that isn't quite clicking. We can do the corporate thing and ignore that, or we can do the human thing
Right.
and kind of lean into that." To me, there's a link here because when I first came across you, the information that I got on the topics that you like to talk about was a story about the coldest member of a team. Uh,
Yeah.
right. And how that
Yeah.
sort of spawned this whole microculture thing. Can you maybe just tell us that
absolutely.
story? Because I loved that story.
Yeah, it's a great story. I moved from corporate sales into the corporate marketing team when I was at Scotia. And when I joined the corporate marketing team, it was a small group. There was one individual, Merike, and Merike had been there for a while. She had been with the bank longer than I had been, so she had a lot more experience, a lot more tenure. And America and I didn't get along really well at first. And I honestly I was young enough that I couldn't figure out why, right? Because I was like, hey, I'm not a bad guy, right? I'm okay. So it was puzzling to me at first. And America wasn't mean. She just was she wasn't warm at all. So I'd ask her a question and I'd get a one-word answer. Right? Like it was really challenging trying to create a rapport with her. And I didn't know any of the stuff that I know now about how to create teams and how to lead well and how to have difficult conversations. I didn't know any of that. So I was running from just the seat of my pants, as my dad would say. And I slowly, after a couple months, I started realizing that uh, America and I had actually a lot more in common than it looked like we should.
Uh-huh.
And I also realized that there were things that America was amazing at that I was not good at. And again, completely by accident, I started asking her for help and I would position it as, hey, America, you're so good at this. Can you help me fill in the blank? And slowly, America and I started realizing what each other's opportunities were. I think because it was like 25, 30 years ago that America was a female, she was a woman, that I was the young hotshot that just came over from sales. There was understandably a level of fear.
Yeah.
And what I learned was that America had been passed over on a couple of things
Yeah.
that, frankly, I don't think she should have been passed over on,
Sure.
right? So I think it was an natural instinct that she didn't like me, that
Right.
I was a threat, right? I was here we go again, right? And the funny thing was that I had no ambitions to become leader of that team, that department. I just wanted to do some great work. And I had a few other goals that were in mind. And once America and I came to a shared understanding of what each other's goals were and where we could fit together, all of America's barriers came crashing down.
Yeah.
And in the end, America and I became best friends. Like we literally became best friends. We would do things outside of work socially. She was just so much fun to hang around with. And we really liked each other. And that was, such an example for me that take a look at the bigger picture and see what else might be going on and see where you can lean into those things.
I think that's a story that many listeners will be able to resonate with, being in some of that situation, or maybe they're sitting next to somebody at work where that kind of vibe's giving off. If you were to look back now and just whisper in the ear of the young Bruce, the hotshot, at that point, with the basis of all of your experience and knowledge today, what would you be telling yourself that you have learned? What shortcut would you be giving young Bruce into the importance of trust and collaboration and this idea of the microculture, do you think?
Sure. I would say be patient, for sure. Don't try to push it. Be respectful, because America needed to have her space. That was one thing that was 100% America, was that America needed to have her space. And so you can't push somebody into liking you.
Nah.
For anybody that's tried to push somebody into loving them, they know exactly what I mean about that one, right? So just because you want to become my best friend doesn't mean that I want to become your best friend, right? And don't have expectations that they're going to become your best friend either, right? But really, be patient, and start recognizing what they're good at,
Mm.
right? Really start recognizing that and be authentic with any type of um, admiration or recognition of their talents is one thing that I think is really good. The other fundamental one is share what your goals are,
Mm.
right? So, like the thing with Merike is Merike needed to know that I wasn't there to overlap her,
Mm.
right? That I was there to simply do great work and to get as much experience as I possibly could. And once Merike understood what my goals were, I could then listen to what her goals were. She was open enough to share with me what her ambition was.
Yeah.
And then we could start supporting each other.
Lovely.
And that was very cool.
Yeah. And like you say, now two people that perhaps were rubbing up each other the wrong way, and now they were best friends. Great work, high performance between the two of you, and I suspect that spawned some great stuff as a
Yeah,
result.
we did some we did some really good work together. Yeah.
And maybe this is what links into the idea that you've talked about in some of your work, that trust comes before chemistry.
Mm.
This thing about also forcing people to like you or to love you. Just explain a little bit what you mean by that, because seemingly you had two people here who, on the very face of it, initially just didn't get on and maybe didn't perform
Mm-mm.
together, and yet something else changed, and there must be this kind of trust and chemistry thing going on within that relationship.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Staying with the America example, that's exactly the point. Is that America and I, our chemistry wasn't good at the beginning, but I had to learn that she wasn't evil, and honestly, that is one of our natural tendencies. Is when we start getting a rejection or something from
Mm,
somebody,
mm,
we paint them with the evil brush. And we really need to let go of that. And that evil brush comes from chemistry. So we really had to look at what we could depend on each other for and what we could rely on each other for. And that trust is was what really brought us the bigger picture. And going back to the values of the team, the values of the microculture, that could be the catalyst, right? If you're a leader out there wondering how do I get my team to trust each other, go back to your shared values, right? And get commitment on those components because that's the thing that can align all of you, whether you're 65 or 55 or 25, whether you have a natural chemistry or not, you can begin trusting each other to deliver on those values,
mm.
right? And once you start building on that trust, then you can start seeing each other as three-dimensional beings as opposed to, adversary, helpful, non-helpful, right?
Yeah.
Instead of character, right? And you can start building your culture that way.
Do you think first of all, I love the phrase of painting them with the evil brush. I mean, that's something I think that will live with me for a little bit. Is that a fear thing, do you think, in the main, or is that a whole bunch of stuff going on there?
Yeah, there could be a whole bunch of things, but I think fear is a strong component of that. Like I believe that the opposite of trust is not distrust.
Mm,
I believe the opposite of trust is fear.
yeah.
And as soon as I stop being scared of sharing with you or how you might take advantage of me, or like if I have to protect myself, that's a fear-based response.
Hmm.
And as soon as I stop fearing you, right, either as somebody who's going to jump over me or someone that's going to uh, um, throw me under the bus, right? Right. As soon as I stop fearing you, that's when I can start trusting you.
Yeah. I'm sure you covered some of these things in your book, which I'm sure will weave through some of these topics that we're starting to get under the skin of. But when we think about breaking down those fear barriers, moving towards a more trusting relationship, from the work you've done and your own experiences, what are some of the practical steps that you have taken or you would advise people to take to help strengthen and build that trusting relationship?
Talk with each other. Uh, honestly, it's as silly as that sounds. Start having conversations with each other. So, like I've already shared the go to your values, right? So use those as the catalyst that is going to connect you and I. So that is a big component that I strongly recommend. The other thing that I strongly recommend with leaders, and we can do this between coworkers as well, is start having one-on-one conversations with each of your team and use that time really meaningfully, right? So and what I recommend, especially to leaders, so it'd be a slightly different variation for coworkers, but for leaders, I would say, so we're going to have a 10-minute conversation, maybe 15, once a week, every Tuesday at 9 a.m., right? And that becomes a commitment between you and I. So it's not, hey, if I'm not busy or oh, something up came up or whatever. It's I can plant foundation on this one that is a commitment. And that locked in commitment immediately, just the commitment sets a I'm important.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, you're not going to break this meeting because our relationship is important. And then that 10 or 15-minute meeting isn't you telling me what the priorities of the week are. It's you saying, "Hey Bruce, what's going on? What do you need from me?" And as you and I get good at this, you'll learn that you expect, "Hey, Andy, I'm looking for my career, my promotion, what is my next step? So what do I need from you this week might be, what are the skill sets that I need to add to my existing portfolio? And how can you help me get those skill sets? Whether it's special projects, whether it's training, whether it's coaching and mentoring, whatever it might be. Another week, it might be me saying, we're working on this project with the ABC team, and I'm running into some resistance on this point of the project. And I don't understand why. Andy, can you share some light strategically, organizationally on why I'm getting resistance here and perhaps help me overcome that resistance? So those meetings are all about me sharing with you. As soon as I, on a regular basis, start sharing with you, two really good things happen. I start trusting you in a very different way, right? Because now it's not you filling me up, it's me filling you up, right? So the more I feel you know me and that you're listening to me, the respect that I get, that's going to create a level of trust that's really cool, right? The other component that I find is really amazing is that, Andy, you're going to learn things about me, both personally and professionally, that are going to help you be a better leader to me. And that means that you're going to perhaps be able to see an opportunity that I'm not seeing. So you're going to be able to come to me and say, like 3 weeks from now, and say, "Hey, Bruce, there's a special project over here that I thought you might be interested in. That would be completely online for you. What do you think? Are you interested?" Right? Or like something along those lines. So you're going to be able to start coming to me in a very different way and talking to me in a very different way that resonates directly to my goals, my values, my culture, my personality, all of those components.
I think this is what's so powerful about the 10 to 15 minute personal connection chat, which there are many times I think in the work that I do, maybe you get this same feeling, or maybe you've got less imposters than I do, but I feel like a bit of a fraud saying these things because they sound so simple and simplistic and common sense. But the number of times these things get missed or forgotten, because as much as this sort of approach will absolutely build a relationship and build trust and elicit great performance, 100% it will.
Mm-hmm.
It's the 10 to 15 minute perverse look at, well, it's only 10 to 15 minutes. I'll sack that meeting off because I'm very, very busy. Does the exact opposite. Totally erodes and undermines all the trust that you've built up, because you might think, oh, it's just 10 minutes. I'm cancelling that meeting because I've got a lot to do. Well, it's nothing to do with the meeting. It's to do with the to do with the relationship. You're not as
Mm-hmm.
important for 10 minutes as something else is
Mm-hmm.
important. And that's
Mm-hmm.
desperately undermining for all of this
Absolutely.
work.
Right.
And I think
Absolutely.
this is the traps we fall into, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like that meeting for me needs to be held with really high regard. And the other thing that I like to suggest to, especially to leaders who are doing this, is that they have to set the precedent for the employee and put the employee into the leadership position. Right. So it's the employee needs to come with the agenda. Right. And let's just say it's a 9-minute meeting or a 10-minute meeting, sorry. If the employee comes a minute late, it now turns into a 9-minute meeting,
Uh-huh.
right? If the employee comes 5 minutes late, it's now a 5-minute meeting. It's not like, hey, no problem, we'll extend it. No,
Mm-hmm.
no, this is the commitment, right? And it's not a walk to Starbucks. It's not it's not a walk to something else. It's wherever you agree to do it, whether it's a conference room or somebody's office. That's where the meeting is held, and it's the employee's responsibility to come with agenda and to be on time.
See, I I love that premise. I think having some skin in the game on both sides is really important. In a very strong sense for me, it links directly to servant leadership, which I think some people
Mhm,
will question. Because for me, the whole Greenleaf proposition of, do people I lead grow because of my behavior, my leadership? I think it's instilling those sorts of values and behaviors and importance to that conversation. It's exactly about helping people understand relationships and trust and performance, because I think the three all kind of come together, right? So the very fact of
mhm.
saying, well, you're a bit late, so the meeting's shorter, or you haven't come prepared for this meeting, we're not going to do it. That's an important lesson.
Yeah, because if you cover for them and say, "Oh, no problem, I'll talk to you about whatever," next meeting, next month or next week, they're gonna come not prepared again,
And we're now
right?
talking about culture. And it's
Yep.
these tiny little things that erode any culture. You're giving approval for this stuff. If,
Mhm.
people often say the culture you get is the culture you tolerate. And for me, that comes directly from this sort of behavior,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and if you start that small and like some people say, "Oh, I don't have time for that."
Mm.
But if you start it and you make it part of your regular routine, I can guarantee you, you have time for this. And it will actually save you time in the back end, right? It'll save you time down the road. So, yeah, like if honestly, if you have a team of 6 people, this is 1 hour of your week where you just bang, 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 bang. You have them back to back. And it's done,
Yeah.
right? It's so, yeah, it's so important.
The thing I want to try and talk to you about while I have you with me, Bruce, is the kind of almost paradox of microcultures and organizational culture. Because I think you've given the key to scaling an organizational culture in what we've already talked about today. But I just want to make sure we bring it forward, because I think it's a
Mm.
really important thing to consider. In that, knowing the listeners, I can hear people screaming, going, "It's all very well fanning the flames of all these microcultures. I need to deliver my organizational culture, and if I let all this stuff kind of like just breed, I'm going to lose control of this culture all of a sudden. It's not going to be what I need." Whereas I think the key to all of this stuff is being really clear about those organizational values that are held within the organization, and then allowing teams to express how they align, deliver, support, extol, maintain those virtues, if you like. Now,
Hmm.
are we on the same page on that? Do you have the same view, something different?
No, absolutely. I think that's the starting ground. The
Mm,
conversation is uh, the organization from on high has decreed that these five values are our organizational values. We have to honor those.
mm,
There's no question we have to honor those. So I think it's important that as a team, we now have a conversation about each one of those values. And as a team, what each one of those values represent to our deliverables, right? What is that as our brand promise, right? And in our one-on-one meetings, in our 10-minute meetings, you and I this week might have a conversation about one of those values and how that relates to me
yeah.
and my work,
Mhm.
right? So you're now taking organizational values, bringing them into team values, and now bringing them into individual values, right? Or individual expectations. But it doesn't mean that we have to stop there,
Mm.
right? For me, I think once we do those five values, those five corporate values, and have a really clear understanding of how they empower and enable our team, then I think we need to pause and say, okay, team, these are great. What else do we want to be known for?
Mm.
Right? What else can we do that's going to excite us and make us even better? Right? So is there something, because we're the finance team, because we're the development team, what else could we bring to the table? And then add one or two values, right? And that's like suddenly like I'm getting goosebumps, right? Like that, like that. I love what I do, right? Um, but that can again that can make that team proud that they're going above and beyond, right? They're going to do something special, right? Because they are special because they're the finance team, right? I think that is where you align all of these orbits, right? So that the orbits aren't fighting against each other. The orbits are creating momentum and really being amazing.
I think there's two things in there that challenge some. I'll use the term incorrectly, conventional wisdom on how you scale culture. But by the way, which I am in full support of, Bruce, in that firstly, we're okay with the fact that values have been decreed from on high. Yes, I am
Yeah.
okay with that, because I think the minute we start having the organization determine the values of the organ, we're almost missing the point that these values have to deliver something. They're
Mhm,
not about how
mhm,
everybody feels. They are about
mhm,
actually what are the core behaviors that we really want to see in this business, because we believe they will make us successful and allow
mhm,
people to kind of really deliver inside the organization. So yes,
mhm,
I think they should be formed from a small, discrete team. But the stuff I absolutely love is that the teams interpret and deliver those that in a way that's relevant to them as a team and to individual. I think that's
mhm.
really powerful. But also, the magic pixie dust here is moving on from saying, what? Corporate values aren't the limit. We can add our own additional stuff as long as it doesn't pull or detract from where we're all
Mhm.
trying to push. Yeah, why wouldn't you? What is
Right.
your special sauce? I mean, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's that special sauce component, right? That's going to make like how many hamburger joints are there out there, right? But what's the special sauce that your favorite hamburger joint has, right? That's that's the cool.
I
Yeah.
think this is the thing that I find fascinating about this work is that this thing about control and the needs to try and pigeonhole and almost command people to behave a certain way because this thing is really important. No adult I know likes being told how to behave. I just don't think you wouldn't do it in your personal life and have any success. Why on earth do we think that's going to translate into into work life? I have no idea. But I've probably been in teams where, if I'm honest with myself, back in the day, where we've tried to do that and it's failed miserably. I think this understanding and connection to it, and not being scared that, well, hang on, I only want 5 values. I'm going to have like 150 behaviors. I don't give a monkey's how many behaviors you're going to have. If they're all pushing in the right direction, you win, right? You win.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. There's no question in my mind that this works. Yep.
So, if we're talking to a subsection of the listeners today, Bruce, because I do want to make sure that we reference the path of an inspired leader before this conversation finishes. Now, we've
Mhm.
talked pretty exclusively about microcultures and trying to scale it up and make it relevant and look under the rocks that you think there might not be relationships there and how to do all those kind of good things today. But there must be bits in your book about different environments, different situations that leaders are going to find themselves in connected to this sort of stuff. And I just would love to know about, where does that collection of thoughts come from for the book? What's inspired that? And what are you hoping people who pick it up and read it get from it?
Sure. That's a great question. I thank you for that one. It's the book is sort of a collection of my experiences over the last 30 years.
Hmm.
If you say that. And I really looked back at who are my great bosses, who are my great leaders, and I actually looked at who are my awful leaders, because I honestly now think I had two really bad leaders in my career when I was working, and 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 I used to resent them, to
Hmm.
be honest. Now I am so grateful for them, because they've showed me what I don't want to be. And they've showed me, they've encouraged me to how would I work around that in today's world? So the book is a collection of my 30 years. And what I got frustrated with, because I'm a big reader. I love reading, I love research, like it, I'm almost insatiable about that kind of stuff. And what I was always frustrated with is that every book was one topic. So I read one book and it's about time management. I read another book and it's about managing change, and I don't believe that we have time for that nowadays, right? Sometimes we do, but mostly I think leaders need a little bit of a shortcut into these components. So about 10 years ago, I got the idea is that, wouldn't it be really cool to have a book that every chapter was a different scenario that a leader might find themselves in? So it's how do I hire somebody? Because I've never hired anybody before. How do I do that? Read this chapter and I'll get you 80% of the way and allow you to put your own personality into it.
Hmm.
What's the importance of onboarding? How do I manage a change environment? So something's about to change. How do I prepare my team for change? How do I inspire people who are different age groups? So every chapter in the book is one of those fundamental situations that a leader might find themselves in. And they don't have to read a whole book, they just need to read one chapter. And I promise every chapter is 12 pages or less. So
My kind of book.
that's the goal. Actually, I lie. I think there's one chapter that's 13 pages. But every chapter you can read in 10 or 15 minutes, no maximum. And I've given you tools, I've given you processes, I've given you worksheets that allow you to take 80% of that knowledge and really put your own personality into it and say, you know what, I'm going to walk into that room with confidence. And then I'm going to listen openly to what other people are saying, and we'll come up with a solution. So, what I really wanted from the book was to create an environment that someone could go to and gain the confidence that they needed in like 10 pages, and then be able to walk into a room and know that they're not going to look foolish, that they're going to have a great idea, that they're going to be able to contribute to a conversation in all of these unknown situations.
That's fabulous, because I think in today's world, personal development comes in so many different flavors. So whether it's a book in the style that you've written it, whether it's a TikTok video that gives you a lesson, whether it's listening to a podcast, whatever it is, I think there are so many opportunities for people to find just those little bits of help. And I think we're both people driven by, if I can help somebody have a better day at work today,
Mm.
then I've won. Then that's all we're
Yeah.
about. So I love the premise of that. And I
Yeah.
can see how this links directly to the topics we've kind of given a very, very simple flyby today. But there's so much richness to this. But the development and getting perspective and learning lessons doesn't have to take eons, right? We can pick up a book, we can read 12 pages, and we can have a better idea than we had beforehand, right? I love that idea.
Absolutely. Yeah. And my hope is that, people will keep going back to it chapter by chapter. Like it's designed so you don't have to read it cover to cover.
Mhm.
You could just read it. Here's a chapter, right? And I hope people scribble in the margins, and highlight it like crazy. Like that's my goal, is that in 5 years, this book looks tired and worn, and that
What
kind
a
of thing.
lovely, lovely image. Well, we'll put a link to that in the show notes, my friend. No question to that. Um,
Thank you.
Now, before I let you go, we've come to the part of the show I like to call sticky notes, Bruce, where I'm going to ask you for some practical advice. And we're going to focus on intentionally creating these healthy microcultures. And the advice needs to be able to sort of fit on 3 little sticky notes that someone could stick on their screen. So,
Mm.
what 3 pearls of wisdom, Bruce, would you leave behind in the sticky studio today?
Asking me for only 3 is oh my goodness. So I would say number 1, be authentic, right? Be yourself. Don't try to be me. Don't try to be that favorite boss that you have. Learn from that boss. See what you can bring into your own personality, but be authentic. So if you're an extrovert, be an extrovert. If you're an introvert, be an introvert. Be authentic, because as soon as you don't come across as authentic, I lose trust. I start losing confidence in you. So whatever you do, make it your own. I think celebrate events is an important one. Celebrating events, whether it's holidays, birthdays, projects that have become success, like that you've launched. Well, if you launch a project, just go, oh, yay, right? No, throw a pizza party on it, right? Or whatever it might be. Celebrate your successes, celebrate those wins, big or small, right? And it allows people to be proud of the work they do, right? So celebrate and help the people around you, not necessarily under you. So even if it's a coworker, celebrate successes. And then I think I'd like to say do the one-on-ones. I'd like to say that one, but I'm actually going to shove that one across and say onboard new people with purpose. I think we do a terrible job of onboarding. And I think we need to be really, really intentional about when we onboard people, around, we're going to be talking about our shared values. I'm going to screw up sometimes, and I want you to tell me about it. And I expect, because you're new, you're going to screw up sometimes, and I'm going to tell you about it. But we're never going to do it with blame. We're never going to do it with anger. We're never going to do it with evil. We're going to be okay. And so I think my third one, I would say onboard well.
Yeah, I think that's a great opportunity for that psychological contract right from the get-go. Right.
Mhm.
Really, really important. Love those,
Yeah.
Bruce. Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on, Bruce. I've absolutely loved meeting you and loved chatting with you. If people would love to find out a bit more about you, about the work, about the book, where should they go looking, my friend? Where can they find you?
Sure. The website is Bruce Mayhew, Mayhew, brucemayhew.com. And there they will find anything they possibly might want to know about me and the programs that I deliver, about the book. They'll see a page dedicated to that. So brucemayhew.com is a great place. LinkedIn is where I do most of my social work. So I'm posting there all the time about articles that I've written or experiences that I've had and ideas that I have. So LinkedIn is a really great place. So those two places, and we can be really good contacts.
Excellent. Well, I'll put all of that information in the show notes, my friend, and people can track you down there. Thank you so much for coming on, Bruce. It's been superb.
It's been my absolute pleasure. I think you and I could talk for days.
That is in no doubt at all, my friend. Absolutely
Yeah.
no doubt at all. Thanks so much for coming. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Great to meet you.
You take care, my friend.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Well, that was Bruce Mayhew. And if you'd like to find out anything more about the things we've talked about, check out the show notes. So, that concludes today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it, found it interesting, and heard something maybe that will help you become a stickier, more successful business from the inside going forwards. If you have, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps. I'm Andy Goram, and you've been listening to the Sticky from the Inside podcast. Until next time, thanks for listening.